and welcome, Dr. Mya. Is that how you prefer to be addressed?
Yes, Dr. Mya. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
So, jumping right into things, I have been doing a lot of research about you. It's kind of crazy because I used to dream of being a general manager at McDonald's because McDonald's was my first job. So, so it's really cool to like actually be sitting down with a Black woman who is actually, an owner of 13. Like that is something I didn't even dream of before.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about who you were growing up.
Well, who I was growing up is the same girl that I am today. Hardworking, focused, diligent. I was born the oldest of 8 children, and of course, a blended family. And so I just always took the role of being the oldest or being the leader or being the head. I took that very seriously. So I always made sure that I made decisions that I could live with, not only at that moment, but also for the rest of my life. And so I made different sacrifices. There's certain things that I wanted to do that I didn't do because I felt like, well, I wouldn't want to do something that would be irresponsible. And when I say irresponsible, I mean like taking risk, because at one time I did want to get into like the entertainment and media world, that kind of thing. And I said, you know what? I don't think that would be smart because to be the oldest of 8 children, I have to, go the straight narrow path, go to school, get out of high school, do an excellent job, go to college, get a great job. And then if you want to do all this other stuff after you become successful in whatever your career is, then okay, you'll be able to pay your own way to do those type of things. So as a child, I've always been very focused, been very diligent. I always wanted to be the best in every single thing it was that I did, whether it was in work, whether it was in sports, whatever it was, even when I was in McDonald's, when I was working for my dad, I would be working there and I was like, I have to be the best. So every single month I would get like employee of the month and it was just like, how in the world is this happening? But I was serious. I was so focused that other McDonald's owner operators would come through in the drive through and be trying to recruit me. And I was like, they must don't know that's my dad that owns the place. So I'm not going anywhere. And, but I've just been like that my entire life. I just always want to be the best because my background, I have a spiritual background. And so I went to Christian private school whenever I was younger. And then my mother and my father were in church, so I knew about God early on. And so I just always knew that in God's word, like how he always says that not only will he never leave us or forsake us, but he will always bless us exceedingly abundantly above all that we can hope, ask, or think. And I always believed that. So as a child, I would just dream big because one of my mentors, which is his name is Apostle Hilliard now, Apostle Ivy Hilliard, and then also First Lady Bridget Hilliard, and this is at New Light Christian Center Church. And they used to always tell us in our lessons that it takes the same faith process to believe for a loaf of bread as it does to believe to own the entire bakery. So at that moment, I began to say, well, you know what? I'm not just believing to be in leadership. I'm believing to own the place. I'm gonna be employing some people, and so that's just what it was like as a child. I'm the same person today. Like I believe there's nothing that I can't do. I believe that God is gonna make a way out of no way, and I believe that he wants me to be as successful and as prosperous as I want to be. I just got to put the effort and the work in. And so, but yeah, that's just who I've been.
It's kind of weird though that you made that connection because just to see that the same amount of faith. I never thought about that before, but
Yeah.
that was so profound to me. I think I needed to hear that today.
Yes, absolutely. Because the thing about it is a lot of times us as individuals, as human, we always think that I want to have something. I want to be something. I want to do something grand and great in the world, but I just don't believe I can do it. Well, God is not asking you how it's going to happen. He's just saying, believe that it can happen and you do everything that you know to do. I'm going to kick in and do the rest because he wants to get the glory in all the great testimonies that you have. When you're giving him all the glory, it says in Psalms that he takes joy and takes pride in prospering us and blessing us and getting the glory. He loves that, so he's looking for ways to bless us. So we don't have to try to figure out how to do it all. Just do what we know to do and just trust the faith process, being in complete expectation after we've done the work that he's going to pull off a miracle if he has to, because he will never, ever let his word go out and come back void. So no matter what it is that we want, he's going to help us make it happen.
Now that's a word right there. And so it sounds like, and originally I was going to ask, did you ever, think that you would one day own a McDonald's? But it sounds like you already kind of had that in mind, or at least you had that entrepreneurial spirit. You wanted to be a business owner. So
Yes, absolutely. What I wanted is when my dad became a McDonald's owner, I just thought it was the coolest thing. I mean, it's almost like thinking your dad is Superman or something, like living in the flesh. And so I said, wow, I would love to do what he's doing. And then my dad is such a savvy businessman that he's so cool-headed and he's so wise, and then he's so calculated and he strategizes and he plans. So he makes running a business look so easy. And so therefore I was like, wow, I can do this. I love people. I'm great with operations in the restaurant. What else do I need to know how to do? Because my dad is always so cool, never stressed out, none of that. And so I said, oh man, when I was a kid, I definitely want to become a McDonald's owner. But I know when I went through the process, my dad was like, oh no, just wait, go ahead and graduate from college, get into your profession. And then if you're interested, I would definitely support you 110%. So I was like, okay, I was confused because I was like, well, why don't I just go ahead and start now? I could be ahead. And I'm so glad that I waited, simply because as a child, not really understanding business, I just thought, okay, well, hey, I'll just go in and I'll just run it. It seems like everything is simple, and not knowing any kind of businesses, not knowing P&Ls, not knowing return on investment, not knowing working capital, liabilities, assets, cash flow coverage, none of that kind of stuff. And so it's such a blessing that I went on ahead and went to school. I became a CPA, worked for Deloitte & Touche. So of course I learned everything about the books, about finances, about expenses, about how to make money, about return on investments, everything. And then of course I worked in radio. So that helped me with marketing and understanding that, because I serve on a lot of boards and I'm in national groups within McDonald's as a corporation. Like right now, I'm the only female on the board. In the region that I'm in, I'm the first African-American next generation in the entire region. So I was just like, wow. But I know that's only because of the grace of God. And I know also that, how a lot of times you think that things are happening in your life and you're wondering, well, why is everything going so slow? Why is this not working for me? Why is this not happening? And you're thinking that you're behind. You're thinking that you're missing out on some blessings that God has for you. I just want to encourage anybody that can hear me, allow those moments to be learning moments and stepping stones. Because had I became an owner operator sooner, I would not have been ready. I'm so glad I had all the experiences that I had, because now I can walk in these positions and actually walk them out loud, with the right type of servant leadership attitude, with the right type of wisdom, with the right type of knowledge, with the right type of conversation and grace. And especially to be a woman, and not only a woman, but a Black woman. I'm the only person on the board that's female. It's like almost 20 of us. And so, but I attribute that only to God, because that's why I love in his word how he just lets us know that if we just seek him, his kingdom, and his righteousness, then all the other things will be added to us. And when we say all things, when he says all things, a lot of times people think that just means stuff. No, that's everything, like his favor, his anointing, witty ideas and inventions, understanding things in a way where nobody else understands them, coming up with ideas that others wouldn't think of, being prepared for whether it be a meeting, for a proposal, for an initiative, for a position, whatever it is, he's going to provide you with everything. And so therefore, that's how powerful that word is, and what I have on my phone and on my laptop is Jeremiah 29:11, that God already has a plan for me. And he has a plan not to harm me, but to prosper me, to give me a hope and a future. And I just live by that, because I know that God has already got a plan. So no matter what it is that we want to do, God is like, I want that for you, but I want to multiply it by 100. So therefore, if you're in a moment and you're like, oh my God, nothing's happening, it's not happening fast enough, that means that God has something bigger and better for you.
Wow. And so I was curious, every time I see your name, I often see that next generation. What does that mean? Like, can you clarify that?
Yes, what that means is it just means that your parent is the first generation, and then you're a next generation owner operator.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because I just kept thinking, like, okay, I know it has to mean something. And I was like, maybe they were bringing in a whole new class of owner operators, or something that were younger. Okay, got you.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I can elaborate on it a lot more. So it won't seem, I don't want to say exactly like what it sounds, but really so that it don't seem exactly like what it sounds. Just because the reason why it's such an accomplishment that I was the only African-American next generation is because a lot of people just assume that, well, if your parent is an owner operator, you in. Well, we not. So that's the thing. And because it's not like, we have a mom and pop, self-made business. This is a McDonald's franchise. I mean, we're like the industry leader in quick service restaurants. And so therefore, they don't just let anyone in. And you have to go through so much. You go through a process because they really want to make sure that you're mature. They want to make sure that you're knowledgeable. They want to make sure that you understand how to move the needle on the business, how to increase guest counts, how to increase sales, how to staff your restaurant, how to have people skills, how to retain the employees, how to make sure they get competitive or fair wages, make sure that they get developed, make sure they can grow. And those are the kind of things that are just in me, because I just have a love for people. And I always want my team to not only be growing, not only be developing, but to just be better and have a better quality of life, because as an owner operator, people look at me and say, wow, she's so young, she owns all these restaurants. And the thing about it is that it takes a personal development to get to that point. Like, I didn't just wake up and they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna give you these restaurants. No, it didn't work like that, because when I went through the process, I moved 7 times. And I went through them telling me no, or you're not ready, or the representative previously didn't turn your information over, so they didn't keep up with all the stuff that you have been giving them, because you got to do weekly updates for like a couple of years. And so talking about starting over every single time they didn't turn my paperwork in, talking about starting over every single time I had to move, talking about starting over every single time they said no, or I had a new representative. And you have to just continue to press. And again, that goes back to when I said, when it seems like it's something in the way that's an obstacle that's slowing you down, God is saying, no, I'm getting you ready for everything you asked for. It just makes me cry, because I wasn't expecting that, but it makes me cry because I think about everything that I went through. And in that season, all I could think is, wow, is it going to happen for me or not? Because when I tell you I did everything imaginable to do to become an owner operator, I mean, they said it takes 24 months. I did everything in 6. And when I say everything, I mean all my classes. I got the highest grade in every single class. I got all of the awards for each class, where the class nominates one person in the entire class that gets the award. I got it in every single class. I mean, these classes were like all over the US. So it's not like these are people that I knew. None of us knew each other from the day we got into the class. And so, and you just sit up and think like, is it going to happen? Like, what's going on? And so I just tell you that after going through it and experiencing it, just a big feat to become a McDonald's owner operator, and all the struggles and all the transitions and all the changes that I went through, just to encourage others to know, don't you ever give up. Because the only reason it's hard is because the devil can see everything it is that God has for you, and he's trying to stop you, he's trying to distract you, and you got to just stay focused on listening to the voice of God and not the lies of the enemy. Because every single time the enemy, all he would do is try to steal, kill, and destroy. And we have to know that. We have to know that the devil doesn't have any new tricks. All he has is a new cast. That means he has new people that he's going to try to use the same tricks on over and over and over again. He doesn't have any new tricks. And so we just have to know that, and just continue to keep on our full armor of God, and just continue to just stand on the word, so that whenever the evil comes, the evil powers try to step in and distract you, you just pull on your full armor of God and just stand. And after you've stood and done everything that you know to do, just continue to stand, because God says, long as you stand focused and stay on his word, that not only will his word never ever go out and come back void, but in your time of trouble to call upon him, and he will deliver you, and he'll never leave you or forsake you. So you have the hope and the positivity and knowing that God is saying, I got you. You're going to get everything it is you've been believing in faith for. Just don't give up. And when I finally got approved, again, I went through another hurdle, because I only had one McDonald's. I had one location. Not that they gave you several when you got started, but the location that I had, when I tell you it was so bad, it was so bad that, like, I had a field consultant that was one of the representatives that come and like evaluate your restaurant from the corporation. And I literally had a customer that was walking from one side of the entry door to the other, urinating across the floor. Like, just walk by and just urinating on the floor. And the rep was like, oh my God, this has happened. I say, this happens all the time. I even had some people that was always putting feces on the mirrors and in the toilet paper dispensers, and getting high in the restrooms, ODing, having to call the police. They had a strip club that was across the street. They had truck drivers that was always coming. And so then they would like try to come and get their food. Then people, like, were out there harassing. I mean, just all kinds of stuff. And I'm thinking, like, really? So, in that kind of environment, I couldn't make any money, because people were like, that's not kid friendly, and I had great operations. I had a clean restaurant. And so those are all things that were like out of my control. But God just said, you just be consistently faithful. And when I look back at that situation, I look back at that restaurant, now that I have multiple locations, and then I think about, once I went from 1, then I went to 3. Then when I got to the process of getting the 4th one, the lady that called me was the head of McDonald's, and she said, I believe that you are the only person that can actually handle this other location because the police department has called the corporation now, asked them to shut the store down because they don't have the manpower to man the store because it has so much violence and so much drama and just a lot of crime in that area. She said, but after I saw how you handled your very first store, I believe that you have what it takes to actually run the store. And I was thinking like, okay, like, wow, okay, no problem. But if I hadn't had that first store, I wouldn't have got this fourth one. Well, having the fourth one got me to the fifth one. And then after I got to the fifth one, and I got to the seventh one. And then after that, it was just off to the races. But again, it's all from that original struggle. And God is just saying, hey, I got you. Don't you give up, because all of it is getting you ready for your next level. And so I'm just so grateful for it, because in the season of it, you just be so stressed out and so frustrated. But as long as you just stand on God's word, just stand. Yes.
Wow. I never would have dreamed like that the journey would have been that difficult. And that's not even, the factors of the whole education of it, or the system of it. Those were just other outside things, but
Yes.
very, very, very well possible that could have occurred. So that's really crazy. It sounds like it was really crazy, but you made it through it, and now you're at 13. So that's a really incredible thing. And then also I was thinking, so with each of those moves, you've probably also had to reinvent yourself as well, or at least change your mindset or your thinking. So can you tell me a little bit about like what that process was like how did you reinvent yourself? And we'll start there, and then I got some more questions kind of to follow.
Okay. Well, when I think about reinventing yourself, what usually comes to mind is if an individual was already in a profession or they were known for a profession and then they shift. Well, I also like to think of it in a way of starting something new and then also mastering the execution of something to get results. So when I think of it like that and I say, okay, how did I reinvent myself? I started doing other things other than what I'm known for. Like I'm known for being a McDonald's owner operator, but then the other things that I do is I do the Smith Foundation, as I'm the vice president and co-founder of the Smith Foundation. And then also I'm a real estate developer and I invest in real estate. And when I talk about those two things, I look at those things as new things, and I look at learning those things and executing to get results. And so when I think about a person reinventing themselves, you have to master what it is that you're going into. So then you can be known for that as well. So I like to think of myself as being known for multiple things, but the multiple things I'm doing, I want to master them. I want to really do them very well. And I think the reason why I'm able to do the few things that I'm doing, but do them very well, is because I like to pick things to do that I'm passionate about. I want to be passionate about it. I want to love it. I want to be one with it, because once I'm passionate and one with it, it's not work. So there's no timeline for it. There's no cutoff time. There's no limit to what I'll do. Like, for example, when it comes to the Smith Foundation students, of course, they get the scholarship one particular year whenever they become the recipients, but I still contact them. I still call all of them to see, how are you doing in school? What's going on? Just in case they don't have funding, because I don't want them to start and then drop out because they don't have any money. Or feel like, okay, well, I'm just in it on my own, so nobody's here to help me, so let me just stop and let me just try to figure out life. No, I got to find out what is going on with you. What do you need? I mean, I even have some students that tell me they have dorm rooms and the conditions of the dorm rooms are not right, and I didn't call the school like I'm somebody. I didn't call the school like, you have a student named such and such and such, and the room that they're in is da 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 da, and they would actually move them, and I was just like, wow. But that only comes from me caring. But if it wasn't something I was passionate about, just imagine how detached the individual could be if you're not passionate about what it is that you're doing, And then me just knowing that it's really changing their lives, because there are 40% of the students that get accepted to college that don't go simply because they can't afford it. So it's not because they're not smart enough. It's because they just don't have the money. And when you sit up and think about a college education versus a high school education, the difference in the income over a 10-year period is over $300,000. So if you had a college education versus a high school education, you would make $300,000 more in a 10-year period. So if you think about a 30-year career, that's like 3 times that amount. You almost at $1 million. $1 million difference in a 30-year career from having a high school degree versus a college education. So every single chance I get when individuals are calling me about school and about tuition and about how do I apply, or I have something going on, because I love to hear about children trying to do something positive, because it's always times that people are going to need some help. And I know that I'm not where I am because of my own efforts. It's because I got help. I thank God for the blessings and the people that God placed into my life. And then my dad being such a phenomenal leader, being my number one support, definitely in McDonald's for sure. My mother leading and making sacrifices in life. And, just other mentors, whether it's my pastors, whether it's other McDonald's owner operators, individuals that have helped us with the Smith Foundation, my father helping with real estate and investments. And so that's why I take it very seriously to give back, because God says, to whom much is given, much is required. So that means that whether you're giving of your time, your resources, your talents, your knowledge, whatever it is, I'm expecting for you to reach back and help somebody. And I mean, God says he'll never, ever let us beat him giving. So therefore, what we make happen for others, God definitely make happens for us. And I see that in my success, because I mean, clearly, I don't need another location. I don't have to have another location. Probably when I had my first three, when I was like, okay, wow, I finally got, three. I got like several at one time, because my dream was to have three. But then to just be out the stratosphere, I was like, oh God, if I can just have five. And then to now be where I am. But I know it's only because God knows that I give so much, because I really think I was created to give. I believe that's why I'm on this earth. And because I love to give. I love to see people's faces light up. I love to see people that thought they were forgotten to be blessed, to not be forgotten, and to see the look on their faces whenever whatever it is they were believing for or hoping for actually comes to pass. And God just uses me to be able to be the vessel, to be able to bless them and help them. I mean, it just does my heart so well. And so, like, even whenever I got more locations, because people always ask me that, like, wow, you have so many locations, what do you think, you're going to be so wealthy and this and that. And every time I get a new location, all I think is, wow, this is one more child I can send to college, or the employees that I have, I can help them, I can bless them, because my employees, those are my kids. I look at them like that. Hey, y'all are my babies. Of course, it doesn't matter what age they are. I mean, these people are older than me, but I look at them like that because, I want to be a good shepherd over God's people, because that's the number one priority to God is people. It's not about no money. It's not about things. It's people. And so, like, they come and they have all kinds of issues going on, whether it be with their homes, whether it be with their family members, whether them be trying to send money or items to their families that are across seas or across the country, just whatever it is. And I mean, whether it's weddings, whether it's getting a car, whatever. I'm here, and I know that that's why God has entrusted me to be blessed in the magnitude that I am, is because he knows that, hey, when I give you success, I have more than you in mind. And so I guess I've been a great steward. So I'm like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow. And that just sounds so awesome, the work that you're doing. But I'm curious, because you also touched on real estate, the fact that you're in real estate as well.
Yes.
So how did you move into real estate? How did you transition into that?
Okay, now I always wanted to do real estate since I was in college, because you know how in the word where it tells you about you need to possess more land, and because that's all about like wealth and about accomplishment. So early on, I thought, okay, well, if I have some land along with my profession, I'll be good, because that'll be kind of like a retirement plan where I buy land, then over years it would just increase in value. So that's all I used to think. I'm going to get some land. I'm going to get some land. Well, then when I became an owner, I make so much more money than what I made in college. So I was like, oh, wow, I can buy properties, build a home, and sell it. And what I started doing was I started developing homes in the same, because my father, he's a home builder. He does custom home building. And so I partnered with my dad, and we were doing developments in areas where you have like low income areas where you go in and you develop the entire area, so that not only the community, the underserved and underprivileged communities get a chance to walk out their door and see something that's new construction, that's looking good, that's better, but then it also increases the value in that area. And so we want to be able to provide something like that to the communities that are always looked over, or they either bulldoze the area and like take over the areas, that kind of thing. So we started off like that. And then after that, we've just been continuing to buy more real estate, buy more properties, and build homes, and just try to make opportunities for individuals that want to be homeowners.
So you're more so into residential real estate, just to be clear.
Yes, that's what I do. Well, that's what I do now. I don't want to be in commercial. See, you know what? See, that's just God working and God moving behind the scenes. He just need me to be saying it out loud. But yes, I definitely want to be in commercial.
Because I actually, one of my questions was, I've just always, I don't know, I maybe only heard this one time, but it just always stood out to me. Just hearing that, I just remember hearing, maybe it was a professor or someone said, McDonald's in the food, isn't in the food business, but they're actually in the real estate business.
That's right.
Because businesses want to be in their proximity. And so I wanted to know, what did you think about that? Like, was it true, or had you ever
Yes.
witnessed it with your locations?
That is 1,000. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. But that is 1,000% true. Yes. Because what it is right now, McDonald's assets are over $43 billion just in properties. Over $20 billion of it is from the rent that we pay as McDonald's franchise owners to the corporation. They are definitely in the real estate business and just so happen to sell hamburgers. So yes, absolutely. Very smart business setup. But yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, well, look, it's good to know. Now I know from the owner, like, it's really the
Yes.
truth.
Absolutely.
So, and for those who are interested in residential real estate, like, would you say that now is a good time to be buying, or what are your thoughts on the matter?
Absolutely. It's no bad time to buy real estate simply because land is going to always increase. So therefore, you want to always have you some property. And then if you want to like flip it, or if you want to put a home on it or rehab homes, just whatever it is, because the value of land is always going up. And it's great value, and it's biblical, So anything that's in the Bible, I try to do it all. It's simply because, like, I'll be telling my niece and my nephews all the time, because they always wonder or have these little creative ideas about how they're going to live their life. But the best thing for us to do is always look at the creator of the creation to determine its best function. Well, our creator knows what our best function is. So therefore, he gave us a manual. And so that manual is going to let us know how we can best function in the world that he created. And so anything I see in there, I just try to follow it to the T, because I just always want to be just living a life daily, less of me and all of him. His will, not my will. Whatever it is he want to use me for and do with me, I'm willing, I'm ready, and I know that I'm able, because I was created in his own image. I'm created to be the head and not the tail, above and not beneath, to be a lender and not a borrower. So I just believe that and stand on it. And so I just trust his word, and that's just my biggest thing. Just if it's in the Bible, I want to do it. So yes, so real estate anytime and as much as you can get.
And also, well, look, my question just escaped me. It was something that you said, and it wasn't an original question, but it just kind of, I don't know, I got distracted. But piggybacking off of that, where do you think, like, well, no, I'm not going to ask that one yet. But I do know that you did receive the presidential award, the Presidential Lifetime
Yes.
Achievement Award. And I wanted to know, like, what was that like? Because that's a huge honor.
Yes. Oh my God. It was extraordinary. I mean, I was completely blown away. I mean, when you think about the president giving you an award, it's like, woo, wow. So that's what I felt like, because it just really makes you feel like everything that you're doing, it's like it just sums up to the peak of this point, like the highest honor you can get representing the US, and the thing about it is I know, like, whenever we got the award, and then when they do like the welcome, and then you get the letter from the president, and it's just talking about individuals just standing in the gap, because I know I got it for my servant spirit and the service that I do with the foundation. And when you think about being selfless, when you think about giving all of you as a service, then God just continues to just fill you up and just blesses you in different ways. All it made me think about whenever I got that award is, all God is asking me to do is just give myself. Every magnitude, every single way, everything you can think of, just give. And because I couldn't understand how I even got there, well, I was like, wow. But then I sit back and I think about when they talk about staying in the gap in such a time where individuals are going through so much unforeseen, uncertain expectations, don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, underserved areas, underprivileged areas, individuals going without, and just continue to just serve, just continue to give, continue to just do more. Because I know whenever, like, for example, when COVID hit, so many people felt like, oh my God, what is going to happen? And especially like even within the restaurants, because we had goals and targets and records that we were planning on hitting. And when COVID hit, and you know how the employees are like, oh wow, we don't have any business, so am I going to give my hour, or am I going to get my hours, all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And at that moment, the first thing that came to my mind is, you're going to have a record year if you give more this year than you've ever given before. Now, you got to remember, during COVID, this is when people like shutting down the restaurants, employees didn't have any hours, you wasn't making no sales. I mean, we had double-digit decrease in transactions and sales. Restaurants were closed, like the lobbies was closed. People wasn't coming to work, all kinds of stuff. And I said, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to give more this year than I've ever given. I'm going to make sure that my employees don't miss any hours. I'm going to make sure they don't miss any money. I'm going to make sure that if anybody gets sick, their bills are taken care of. I'm going to make sure that everything is all good. When I tell you I had a record breaking year, it was unbelievable, unbelievable. And I say that testimony simply because when you think about the president giving you an award, and you think about the things that you do, they have nothing to do with yourself or satisfying yourself, but it's all about serving others, because that was what the award was about being a servant, a U.S. servant. And I think about that because not only am I serving the community, but then I'm serving my employees, and then I'm serving individuals in my family, then I'm serving friends. And that's just all that life is about. That's what God wants to do, is he wants everything it is that we do to be a representation of him here on the earth. So us as his vessels, that's what our job is. And I think that to the extent that I was able to execute on that is what made it possible for me to get that award. But I was just over the moon. I don't know if you saw my video, but I was just screaming and going crazy. Had all of my family, my friends, everyone was there. And it was definitely a joyous occasion. And I loved it. I was so humbled, grateful, honored, appreciative of it. And it was just a phenomenal experience.
And so how do you serve with grace? Because I know serving people can be hard. Like, how do you make that happen?
You say, how do I serve with grace?
Yes.
Because I just love the person where they are. So even if someone is resistant to either something I'm trying to give or trying to do, I just try to see them in the same way that God would see them. So then that means that I'm not judging their behavior. I'm not judging their comments. I'm not judging their actions. I'm just focused on what my job is to do, is to serve. And then I just allow them to be where they are. And then I'm not bothered by how they react, because I know that I'm here to serve. So then it makes it easier.
Yeah, that does
Yeah.
actually sound like it makes it a lot easier too, especially when
Yes.
you take the judgment out of so many things. It makes a lot of things easier.
Oh,
So,
absolutely. It's kind of like at the restaurant. Like a lot of times, you know how you have employees that are having these little battles. I don't want to listen to you. I don't want to listen to this person. You know how they start having these spats. Oh, I don't like this person. I say, you know what? Don't worry about the person. Just focus on the system. And so when they have to focus on the system, it doesn't matter who's telling you what to do. What is the system? So that means that the system can come from anyone. Just focus on the system. And then it just cuts out all that extra stuff. And so it's kind of like that. The system is my job to serve. So therefore, I'm not worried about you having an attitude. I'm not worried about you not liking how I'm trying to get the blessing to you. I'm not worried about you not liking. It just allows me to be able to have grace. I mean, and especially in the restaurant business, because there are employees that when I tell you be disrespectful, talking crazy, cursing, I mean, just completely in rare form. And I had to learn that no matter how they behave, God entrusted me to lead them. God entrusted me to not only treat them well, but to see them the way that he see them. So, for example, it's some employees that curse me out simply because they could have thought their paycheck was wrong. And then once the smoke cleared and they realized they had the wrong pay period, it's not like they apologized. you
yeah.
know, and at the end of the day, of course, I'm not going to fire them. Why? Because could I fire them? Absolutely. That's just completely disrespectful. But I know they need their job. I know they have kids. I know they have bills. I know they have to still provide for their household. So at the end of the day, I still love them where they are. I don't get involved with or judge them based on how they behaved or how they handled me, because I can't take any of that kind of stuff personal. I have to I have to love them enough to allow them to grow to where God, of course, would want them to be. But then also the other thing too that I learned very early on in life, like even like as a kid, anytime someone does you wrong, get excited, because God always knows when someone does you wrong. So he's going to pay you double for your trouble. So therefore, there's no need for you to try to get them back, get them straight, talk crazy, any of that. You don't have to do any of that. He says, vengeance is for the Lord. He said that whenever he gets them back, it's going to be like pouring hot coals on top of their head. And I be thinking to myself, there is nothing I could do to somebody that's going to feel worse than that. So let me just let God get them.
Right.
And so that's just how I look at it. And what I've noticed is individuals that act that way, and I like I says in Roman, repay evil with kindness. Every time it's individuals that do wrong, whether it's steal money, whether it's be disrespectful, whether it's lying to me, all that kind of stuff, and I just continue to be nice and loving and still love them where they are. It's like it just brings a whole different level of growth within them because they're wondering, she could have handled me so differently, but she didn't. And I think that helps them grow because I'm being the example of what God would want us to be here on the earth as his representatives. But it took time. And the only reason why it's graceful is because, like God says, when you seek me, my kingdom and my righteousness, all the other things are going to be added unto you. So he gave me that anointing. He gave me that ability. He gave me that strength to be able to be graceful, even when it didn't feel good.
Right. And so can you talk a little bit about being a business owner versus being an operator? Like there is the difference?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. Simply because my dad used to always tell me and other McDonald's owner operators, because when I talk about my dad and I talk about McDonald's, I'm like, he is the legend, he is the legacy, he is like the be all, the everything. And so whenever he mentors me and other McDonald's owner operators, he used to always say, what you want to be is you want to be an operator, not an owner. Because a lot of times people will get into McDonald's franchise ownership and think, oh, wow, I'm an owner. So they're running around telling people I own this many McDonald's. Well, then what happens is individuals begin to think, wow, if you have one location, you're automatically a millionaire, which is not true, but people are thinking that. And so then they begin to think you need to be footing all the bills. You need to be living this certain kind of way. You need to be going on all these different trips, creating all these bills, having all these expenses. And then what happens is you get so involved with living that life that you're really not managing your business. You don't understand what's going on with your business. You don't understand the sales. You don't understand your expenses. You don't understand what's going on with your P&Ls. You don't understand whether or not your draws are too high. You don't understand your percentage of your equity. You don't understand your liability turnover, your working capital. I mean, they just don't have a clue. They don't know what their cash flow coverage is, just all kinds of stuff. So when you are an operator versus an owner, you are operating your business. You're being a business person, because if you're a business person and you don't know your numbers, you're not in business. You don't understand your business, because at the end of the day, like when I look at my numbers and I'm trying to focus on making sure I'm profitable, like I told my managers whenever we have our meetings, when I give y'all these targets are not for me. I don't need anything else. I live how I want to live. I don't go anywhere. So I'm in the home I want to be in. I have cars. I don't need another location. I don't need y'all to make any more money for satisfying me. I say, but I look at us being successful in this business. This is to help all the families that are in our entire organization. So if we have 800 employees, we're taking care of 800 households. So therefore, it's important for you to hit these targets, because you may not be needing some help personally, but guess what? That other employee that we just now hired, they need to be able to get their hours so they can take care of their household. They need to be able to get their hours so they can be able to pay their rent or send money to their parents, across seas, or they need to be able to take care of their children or take care of a sick child or just whatever it is. And at the end of the day, the business has to be running right. So why? So we have sales. If we have sales, that means customers are continuing to come. If customers are continuing to come, that means that I need more employees. If I have more employees, that means more people are getting the opportunity to make money. That means that we're blessing more lives. So it's not just about saying I'm an owner. It's about how much of a difference am I making in the lives of the individuals that God is blessing me with. So that's why I take it really serious about being an operator, knowing what's going on. Because if you don't know your numbers, you could be out of business and don't know it. And if you're out of business, think about how many people that you've let down that were trusting you to run your business right, to be able to pay their bills, to be able to take care of their household, to be able to take care of their family. That's a real job. So it's not about me running around talking about, oh, I'm a McDonald's owner. Oh, no, I am responsible for you and your family. So I got to make sure that I'm taking care of my business.
Wow. And that's really a word, but it's almost like, because there's an ecosystem that you're creating right there. Just you have all those other people that you're supporting. So I totally get that. One thing I wanted to ask is, like, so what is a typical work day, or just a day? Because you wear multiple hats. So what does a day look like for you?
Well, as far as McDonald's is concerned, a day for me is, well, I'm a big planner, because I learned early on, because my dad used to always say, hey, you need to have a plan. You need to have a plan A and a plan B. And I mean, when I say I was like 10 years old and he was telling me this stuff before I could even understand what a plan was. Because it would be so funny, because he would be saying, like, if he asked me about something, because my dad is such a critical thinker, and all he's always taught us is, what are you thinking? Well, why did you do this? He wants us to think through it. Like, he didn't give us a whooping. He said he would sit there and he would just talk to us and let us know, hey, this right here is what you're supposed to be doing, or why were you thinking about doing that, or what made you make that decision? And so whenever something would happen, he would say, okay, what is your plan? So then you have to sit there and tell him what your plan is on what you're planning on doing. Like, if you wanted something, okay, well, what's your plan on how you're going to get it? How much are you going to save? When you going to save it? How much you going to save this week? Or how much you going to save this month? Or what is your goal? And then let's just say if it didn't work, and then you sitting there looking at him like, oh, wow, I made a plan. It didn't work. He said, okay, what's plan B? So then it got me prepared early on that just because something didn't work the first time, you don't stop. You keep going until you accomplish your goal. So with that being said, my day to day is all based on plans. Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So therefore, I do projections every single year for each one of my locations. So every single month, I know exactly what I want them to make in sales, what I want their controllables to be, whether it be on labor, whether it be on food costs, whether it be maintenance and repair, whether it be on operating supplies. I know exactly how much profits I want them to make after the controllables. I'm negotiating my rent so that I can know what my bottom line cash flow is going to be. And then I know that for all that to happen, I have to be making sales. I have to be staffing the restaurant. I have to be making sure that my people are trained and developed. I have to make sure that they're hitting different targets. I have to make sure that the customers are satisfied when they come. I got to make sure that they have the product that they need to actually sell it. I got to make sure my employees in the store looking sharp, dressed, professionally, looking right, having on a full uniform, doing the right procedures, making sure they're passing the health department visits, making excellent grades whenever we have those unannounced visits from the corporation, just all of that. And so with that being said, I wake up in the morning and I'm looking at the numbers. I'm trying to see, okay, does anybody have a shortage? What was the sales for today? Is the labor too high? Did they not manage it? Because anytime they let the controllables get too high in expenses, that makes us not be profitable. Well, anytime I'm in a position where I may not be profitable, that puts the entire organization at risk, because again, I'm responsible for every single employee that I employ. I want to make sure that I'm running a well enough business that not only can you stay employed, but I'm putting you in a position to continue to get raises, to continue to get bonuses, to continue to promote. You don't want to be a crew person forever. You want to be a manager. Then you want to be a assistant manager. Then you want to become a general manager. Then you want to be a supervisor. Well, all those different levels, you have an increase in pay. But I got to be running my business right so that as you're being developed under my leadership, it makes a difference in your life and it creates more of an opportunity for your family. So when I get on the phone, once I look through the numbers for each location, I get on the phone. I start calling each restaurant manager. Hey, this number was out of line. What are you going to do about the labor, or what made labor so high? What made the cash control so high? Just whatever it is, whether it's service times. Then I get in the car. I start making my rounds to the restaurants. I want to see, hey, what's going on? Do any of the employees have any kind of question? Do they need help with anything? How clean is the restaurant looking? Are they doing the operations properly? Are they making sure they're getting the customers through the drive-through? Are they making sure they're treating the customers properly? Does everybody have on everything they're supposed to be wearing? Is all the equipment working properly? I mean, I'm just going through, just checking, and that's what a typical day looks like. And what's so funny that you asked me is because most people look and be like, so do you work in the McDonald's? I have to do every single thing. Anything you ever walk in a McDonald's and see is going on, I've done it all. Because I started off as a crew person. I was cleaning the bathrooms, the toilets, everything. So I started off from the bottom, and now I'm here. So yeah, so it's nothing you've never seen any employee do at McDonald's that I don't do. I'll pick up the room, I'll sweep, I'll mop, I'll deck scrub, make hamburgers, clean grills, fix equipment, go on top of the roof, doing inspections, changing filters, making sure my AC units are working, everything. Every single thing you can think of that has to happen at McDonald's. Not only do I do it, but you have to know how to do it if you're going to be a McDonald's owner operator. You can't even get approved not knowing how to do it. It's just that, to answer your question, it's just that a lot of people, when they get in, they get away from some of those fundamentals, and those fundamentals are the things that actually make you successful or either keep you from being successful. You just got to be consistent with the fundamentals. And I have to say that I just had a great mentor to be able to teach me all of that, which is my dad, because I know I told you earlier, I mean, he's just so phenomenal with his business savvy. I mean, just wise and just great ideas and just so professional and just so witty. And he makes it look so simple, but then he puts so many different systems in place, because I know it's systems that he taught me before I even became an owner. I was literally just a manager in the restaurant, and it's things that he taught me that I do right now today with my team, when I prepare for my numbers for each year, when I'm developing my organization. I mean, just everything, I mean, it's just priceless. But the key is you have to be involved on a routine basis, because otherwise it'll get away from you. And if your business gets away from you, sooner or later you'll be out of business.
It makes me think about how my coach says, you're not CEO in your business, like you're not being actively involved. So I love that. And I love to hear the fact that you go in to the stores regularly. Cause
Yeah.
I've actually been a swing manager and I forgot the other name for it, but for several times before in the past. And I just know I noticed, like, I remember having one really good owner, and he would come in and work with us, especially like whenever we were doing the inspections, whenever
Yes.
we had those going on. But he also just came in at other times. And then I worked at under another company, and I never saw the owner, actually. That not never really saw, but I just never saw him. So yeah, the fact that you go in and do that is really good. And I'm just kind of curious,
Yes.
what is your favorite position as far as like with working it throughout the store?
I love drive through. I
Okay.
love, yes, no, I love drive through simply because I get a chance to interact with over 80% of the customers that actually come to the restaurant.
Mhm.
So I just love service, anywhere in the front area, because then I get a chance to see what's going on with the customers, if they are satisfied, if they're not satisfied, if we met the standard. So that's what I like. I like being on the front line where I can like directly impact the customers.
Right. And you get all the feedback. So you really know
Yes.
how the customers feel. That's
That's
really
exactly
important
right.
as well. So
Yes.
with all that you do and all the service that that you give to others, how do you take care of you? How do you practice self-care?
What I do for self care is I got taught early on in life that your mind is the battlefield. So as long as you are focused and your mind is strong, there is nothing that you won't be able to do. So what I always focus on is just keeping myself grounded with the word of God, because I know that the lies of the enemy will always try to get in. So I try to train my mind to only focus on the voice of God. Like how God says in Colossians about us thinking on though only on good things, things above and not of the earth, because the things of the earth are just temporary. So anytime things are going on, or it just seems like something is going on that's not quite positive or not quite to your liking, I don't even entertain any of that stuff. And so to be able to do that, I do a few things. Number one, I make a choice to read my Bible every single day. I read devotionals. I mean, I have so many different spiritual books, whether it be scriptures, whether it be phrases, whether it be laws and leadership on biblical principles, running a business on biblical principles. I'm like reading those books. I'm also with my satellite radio with Joel Osteen playing on channel 128. I mean, just like continuously, just continuously saturating my mind with God's word, making sure that I just stay focused on knowing that He's always there to make sure that I come out on top, and that He is ready to bless me exceedingly abundantly above all I can hope, ask, or think. So when those negative thoughts come in, I just cast them down. And so to me, that's been my biggest thing for self-care. And like, of course, I can go to a spa, do stuff that to beautify me or that kind of thing. But what you look like on the outside means nothing if the inside is not right. So that's why the biggest thing that I do is make sure that I keep my mind on the right thing, on the things of God, because a lot of times, even when you think about social media, so many people are so worried about trying to prove to people what they're doing, what they're not doing, how their life is, all that kind of stuff. If you're content, just like how they always say, what's understood don't have to be said. So if you're good, you're good. I don't have to post something that says, "Hey, this is my life," or "This is what I'm doing." I mean, you can clearly see there is nothing I want to do that I can't afford to go and do. So I don't have to post it. And so it's kind of like that. And so that's why I feel like it's so important to have that mental stability, and just standing on God's word, simply because whenever you're standing on His word, you have the right perspective of who you are. You're never comparing yourself to anyone. And I used to always tell my nieces and nephews, don't you ever compare yourself to anyone, because when you start comparing yourself to someone else, you're selling yourself short, because God has so much more that He wants to do for you and through you. And anytime you think that somebody else either is better than you or has more than you or has something that you want, and you apparently think that you can't get it, you're selling yourself short, because God wants you to have even more than you even think you want, because he's no respecter of person. What he does for one, he will do for all in principle. So there's nothing that anyone has that you can't obtain. Nothing, nothing at all. But yeah, that's what I do for self-care. I keep my mind strong.
And that makes sense in the mind. I mean, that's one of the most important organs in the body. So I totally get that. And I'm kind of curious, like, what is your support system like then?
Support, like in what way?
As far as just, friends, family. I know you mentioned your dad a lot. I see that he seems
Yes.
to play a pivotal role in your life. So I was just
Yes.
kind of curious as to who might be in your support system or your support circle.
Well, definitely my support circle, my family, I a few close friends. And when I say a few, look, it's kind of like TD Jakes when he says, "Hey, I don't have that many friends," because when I'll say I'm a friend, I'm a friend. And so therefore, so I have a few close friends, but my circle is really not too big. Of course, my husband, my parents, my BFFs, just close individuals. Not too many. My siblings, my aunt and uncles. Just a few people like that. The circle is really not that big. And I guess the reason why I would say that is because you know how a lot of times you'll hear people making those comments or have those slogans that says, "Hey, everybody that is not going to go with you where God is trying to take you." And
Hmm.
a lot of times when you have entirely too many people in your circle, the devil can get in with anybody. Not that they have any ill intentions, but if their faith is not where your faith is, then they may begin to start telling you some things. For example, you'll see some individuals that are celebrities that are just like outrageously successful. And they had close family members that would tell them, "Oh no, you can't do that. Stop wasting your time. Go to college." And they didn't mean any harm. They just didn't want that child to sacrifice their future by
Hmm.
going and doing something that could have been a big risk. So it wasn't that they didn't have good intentions for them. They just thought that that was the best thing for them. But the thing is, whenever God is doing something for you. So when he puts that vision in your mind, he's putting that vision in your mind. So therefore, he's going to provide you with what you need to make it happen. So I'm usually only surrounding myself with individuals that's on board with that. So that's usually my support system, because that's the only way you can support me is by speaking stuff that God is already telling me. If you're telling me about something that you think may not can happen, you're not on my support team.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with that. And also, I mean, just with all that you've accomplished, I can definitely see why you be, more protective of your space and just, just not, you don't
Yes.
want just anyone in your circle. So I can understand that. So, my last question is well, no, it's not my last question because I still need to ask you about two more, but how
Okay.
would you describe your swagger? Like what makes Dr. Mya, Dr. Mya?
What makes Dr. Mya is my heart. Yep. My heart, my dedication and commitment to the things of God, and my willingness and desire to give. That's what make me me.
Yeah.
That's basically it. Yep. Because the
Okay.
rest of it, I mean, is just, to me, the hard work and the being successful and the being, that's easy for me. But I think that the core ingredients are those three things: my heart, me keeping God first in my life, and my desire to give. Those three things are why I am where I am today, completely.
And I realized, though we did talk about the Smith Foundation a little, you mentioned it before, but I wanted to know a little bit more about that. And I also wanted to know, like, what is it that you look for? Or how do you decide what activities or organizations that you're going to support? Like what type of things do you all do and who do you all tend to support and why?
Okay. Whenever I look at an organization that's like outside of ours, because like we have our foundation, so we help students with tuition. We help organizations with school supplies, like basically like elementary schools. We help with toy drives for the underprivileged areas where the individuals don't have the means to be able to provide Christmas toys for their children, because we provide that for an organization where they have women that are veterans, individuals that have gotten in trouble or incarcerated, or maybe rehabbing from drug addictions or violence or domestic violence or anything like that. So that when they're trying to get back on their feet, they're not in a position where they could actually go and work, because they may be in a, I don't want to say a witness protection, but they're in hiding from like whoever they come from. And so therefore we want to make sure that we allow the children to be able to have a great Christmas, even though the parents can't work. And then also for the school supplies, a lot of the elementary schools, they don't have the tools that they need to be able to start school with everything. And so we make sure we have all the school supplies for those schools so they can have a successful year each year. And we do the food drives. So therefore, we feed the homeless, we feed individuals like during Thanksgiving, that kind of thing. And then of course our tuition for the college students. But as far as me personally, any other kind of philanthropic endeavor that I support is basically going to be based on the cause, the individuals that they can reach. And then also it'll be based on like the dedication, the passion, and the commitment of the individual that's the leader of that organization. Like if I run into somebody that's like so passionate about being able to serve individuals in whatever aspect it is, a lot of times I'll support that because I want to help them move the needle on what that cause is, to be able to be more successful, to be able to reach more individuals that they can serve. So those are kind of the three things: whatever the cause is, who it's going to reach, and then on the dedication and commitment of the individual that's over that organization.
Okay. Well, is there anything you feel like we didn't discuss that you'd like to share? And I keep forgetting this. I don't know why, but I keep meaning to ask you, like, what can we expect of you in 2022? Like, do you have any plans that you care to share also? I guess.
Yes, absolutely. Well, right now, I'll be on the cover of another magazine coming up soon. So just stay tuned. Also, I have a play that I'll be the mistress of ceremonies for, and it's called Soul Purpose, and it's going to be in Houston, and it's going to be on March the 5th and the 6th. And I am telling you, it is going to be phenomenally amazing because that play is a stage play that was nominated as Stage Play of the Year. And every single city that it toured in, it sold out. So I definitely want to encourage everyone, if you're in Houston or if you live near Houston and you can drive to Houston, you want to be at this play because, and you can even look me up on social media. I have a video about it. You get a chance to hear the testimony of the producer, writer, of what inspired her to write this play, because it's about 5 women that are in different walks of life. And then they went through so much and so much trial and tribulation, but then they came and had a common denominator and realized how they could overcome that situation, but it was by the grace of God. And so it is, when I tell you it is everything, it is everything. So if you can come, your friends can come. I want everybody to come to that play because it is going to be phenomenally amazing. You're going to laugh, you're going to cry, you're going to cheer. I mean, it's going to really touch you, and it's going to encourage you and motivate you to really live out your true purpose, because every soul has a purpose. So definitely go get your tickets. You can get them online at soulpurposestageplay.com. Again, that's soulpurposestageplay.com. And then also some of the proceeds go towards foundations to be able to help more children go to college. And so you would definitely be helping children at the same time, getting your soul stirred, because it would truly change your life. And what better to go to something that's going to really put you in the right kind of mindset for the year. So stay tuned. And I'm looking forward to doing more great things in 2022. When I did my resolution this year, I said, okay, God, I'm going to serve you in a way that I never have. So therefore, I'm expecting for those blessings to be served in a way that I've never received. So I'm just looking for more to come in 2022, for it to be even better than 2021.
Wow. And I just think that you probably have so many, good things in store. And I just wanted to note, I remember watching one of your videos and you were like, it was looks like you all were setting up for a toy giveaway. And you just seemed so excited, just watching you as you were placing the stuff out. And I was like, she's really into this. So I do believe you are a giver.